Sam, I've got one important question for you.
Okay.
What are you buying?
What are you selling? Oh, I forgot. I didn't know that you remembered that. Yes. Man, that was the dude. Is he Aussie?
That was.
I still don't know. He sounds very Aussie.
It's American putting on an Australian accent. That's how it goes. Ladies and gentlemen,
like Junkrat,
today,
yes, of course.
There's a lot of Resident Evil news today, and it's good news because it turns out that we might be getting a Resident Evil 4 remake. Though some people feel like that's not good news. A lot of people are actually quite against that idea. Either way, it looks like it's happening, and there's also some Resident Evil 3 news we got today as well. So let's get into it. Let's get straight to the job. It's the start of a new week. Let's go.
Let's go. So, before we start the episode, I put a little list together, okay? Of games that I would like to see remastered that aren't usually talked about. Number 1, Zone of Enders. Alright? Come on,
Zone of Enders.
Bring back Zone of Enders, okay? I'm starting the petition now.
They just released a game. They released a game like that recently called Deus Ex Machina on Switch, which is basically just Zone of Enders.
Well, it's not Zone of Enders in my books, okay? Number 2, Time Crisis. Man, that would be great. That would be great.
I would play that.
A Vagrant Story. Vagrant Story.
Ooh, you're really plumbing the... It's so brave, Sam. Imagine asking for a Vagrant Story remake. I mean, no one's asked for that before, you know? You're really going hard on that one.
And the last one, of course, Final Fantasy VII. Like, bring that shit back. Come on, I want to see it. Like, come on, it's been over 20 years now, you know? Anyway.
But when they do it, though, I really want them to make sure they split it up into multiple parts, because I don't want to get the whole thing in one package. Like, I really want to have to wait 10 years for the whole thing.
I want them to make their money's worth.
But anyway, look, so speaking of making your money's worth, Resident Evil 3 Remake came out last week or the week before, and it's actually sold pretty damn well. Capcom just put out an announcement saying that it's sold over 2 million copies in the first 5 days, which is a very strong result for a title, like in terms of AAA releases. It's not absolutely gangbusters flying off the shelf good, but it's pretty solid, especially at the moment with or the Peroni pandemic, I should say. Please beat us out, editor. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Where that basically makes retail sales much more difficult. People who don't want to buy physical are a lot of the time not buying. So for them to achieve that result is pretty good. Good job, Resident Evil 3 Remake. You did it. Well done. You sold some copies.
I still think it's actually a fantastic outcome. You know, they made this game, fine, over the last couple of years, but, you know, they took a lot from Resident Evil 2, which already made its money too. So I think they would have, A, made a lot of money, and number 2, if it's only the first 5 days, I mean, I think any game that does 2 million copies in general is pretty good, let alone the first 5 days. So it is setting the groundwork, of course, for new remakes in the future, but this one at the moment, right, critical reception, 80 in Metacritic, and 6.3 user score though, which is not that great, actually. Let's be real. 6.3 is not great.
I do feel like public perception has swung around on this one a little bit, where pre-release, everyone was like, oh, anyone's hating on this game, doesn't understand Resident Evil, it's actually a masterpiece, and Resident Evil 3 was a flawed masterpiece, and so is this. And I think since then, a lot of people are like, listen, this probably doesn't feel like the most fleshed out it could have been, with cut content, with the Nemesis being quite watered down, with a few issues. And so overall, like, it's a good package. I think most people enjoy it, but I think a lot of people, myself included, feel like, look, this probably should have been a discounted title or a DLC, given how much content was on offer.
And your like ratio in your video in general, man, people were totally agreeing with you, right? And then and then the actual game came out, and they actually started agreeing with you a lot more. But it is so hard to talk about a game like that is so etched in people's minds as like one of their favorite games ever. Before they've even played it, they have an opinion. Like, they know it's going to be good.
Sure, they
before
know
they've even played it. They know it's good, man. You know, like, what do you know? You've only played it.
What's not good, though, is Resident Evil Resistance. And this shit is bombing really hard. In fact, because I hadn't really checked in on it since it was kind of in the pre-release window, where I tried to boot up like a few rounds and couldn't get any queues, and I was like, whatever, man, I'm not going to come back to that. This is bombing pretty hard. So first of all, from a critical perspective, it got about a 60 Metacritic score, which is not great from critics. It has only 2 positive reviews and quite a few mixed. The user score, though, is where it's really bad. I think when I checked it, it was at, what is it? It's a 3.5 user score, okay? So people really hate this shit.
Oh my god.
It's just very generic. It's very much like, look, do we really need this? The Steam charts as well paint a very worrying picture. Even though they've sold literally 2 million copies of this game in 5 days, the peak player population on Steam for Resistance was 4,000 people. And right now it's averaging about 1,200 people. Out of 2 million people, I mean, obviously a lot of those are Xbox and PS4, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But a sizable chunk of those are going to be PC. No one is playing Resistance, man. No one is touching it.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? When we jumped on, fine, we only jumped on for a little bit at a game show, but it just felt so like they were just taking the exact mechanics of a single-player experience and trying to jam it into like a multiplayer thing. It just doesn't work that way. It was not engaging at all. And number two, there's barely any hype about this, right? Like, have you really heard a huge marketing campaign behind this Resistance thing?
No.
It's really this thing they've tapped on to try and justify the price, in my opinion.
I think that's true. Either way, it's going to be sort of relegated to the dustbin of history very quickly. What probably won't be relegated to the dustbin of history is Resident Evil 4, which is
that's
actually...
a nice segue.
That was good, wasn't it? I didn't even know this because, I mean, I played Resident Evil 4 back in the day, but I wasn't really following like games as closely as I am now. Resident Evil 4 is actually one of the highest rated games in the history of video games. It sits at 96 on Metacritic. That was really surprising to me. I mean, obviously it's a great game, but I didn't know that it was that loved by critics at the time. It certainly holds a special place in audiences' hearts, which is why Capcom apparently is choosing to remake it. They're giving it the Resident Evil 2 and 3 treatment. And Video Game Chronicle here have put out an article where they've confirmed with multiple sources that the remake is currently in development. They said, following its reimaginings of Resident Evil 2 and 3, multiple development sources have told VGC that Resident Evil 4 Remake has now entered full production with an estimated release of 2022. So, there you have it. It's coming.
Now, that is probably my... Okay, Resident Evil 3 got me into Resident Evil. I played that before I played Resident Evil 2. But Resident Evil 4, I have a lot of fond memories on. I think we got it first on GameCube. Now, that was an exceptional game, but I think a lot of people wanted Code Veronica too. Now, I wonder if they're ever going to actually get that, or if this, by 2022, are we going to be past Capcom doing the remake phase for now, and then they're going to be doing other things? Or is this just going to be the thing they do for the next freaking 10 years?
They're going to go full Disney, they're going to remake absolutely everything, except, and then they'll go also full Nintendo, where everyone's like, put Waluigi in Smash, and then everyone's like, remake Dino Crisis, you cowards, and then they'll never remake Dino Crisis.
Maybe they'll do Star Wars, maybe they'll do a few, like, you know how they started doing some single movie stuff, and then one went bad, and like, nah, we're cancelling all future movies. Maybe it just takes one bad remake to then be like, oh, screw this, we're not doing this anymore.
But look, the development of Resident Evil 4 Remake is rumored to be led by Osaka-based M2, the new studio founded by former Platinum Games head Tatsuya Minami, which has been preparing for the project since 2018. They actually did lend some help to Resident Evil 3 Remake, but they were very much an auxiliary supporting developer. They're now moved on to full production here on Resident Evil 4. Apparently, again, this is all rumors, and apparently the development staff is actually bigger than it was on Resident Evil 2 or 3 Remake, so it's the biggest team they've had on the game to this point. It's obviously a pretty big effort for them, and it's understandably so given how high the expectations are. I feel like if you messed up Resident Evil 4, there would be hell to pay. Like, Resident Evil 3 was kind of quite flawed, I think, and a lot of people didn't have the highest expectations for it. But given the place that sort of Resident Evil 4 has in history, you really can't half-ass this one. You can't cut content, man. You can't like just, that'll do, that'll be fine. We'll just tack on a multiplayer mode.
Yeah, maybe that's why they're taking another 2 years to do it. But I do also think that Resident Evil 3 for a lot of people, it's special for them because it's the right age. For me personally, I was the right age to jump on, and a lot of people would have been, around that time they jump on Res 3, then they might have revisited Res 2 or gone on from there and played Res 4. So, I mean, I feel like the stakes are probably just as high for Res 3 as they are going to be for Res 4, personally.
Coming back to your earlier point about Code Veronica, I think a lot of people met this announcement with disappointment that Code Veronica wasn't the game chosen for Remake. There was a poll put out by Video Game Chronicle, actually. 8,000 people voted. 45% of them said that Resident Evil 4 did not require a remake, and I can definitely see the argument for that, because it still holds up pretty well. I mean, I went back and just watched a whole bunch of gameplay at the announcement. I've actually downloaded it again because I want to play through it again, but like, it still holds up, man. Like, it's still a good game that you can go like, yeah, cool, this works. Versus Code Veronica always had a lot of problems, and it does not play well now. Like, you just look at this game and you're like, yeah, okay, cool, this really, really needs some work. So for them to have not touched Code Veronica did make a lot of people sad, and it means that we may never see a Code Veronica remake. I don't know. I mean, like, personally, I'd be really disappointed if they skipped over that one. I'd like to see them come back to it, but, I mean, obviously, Resident Evil 4 has a lot more brand recognition, a lot more chance of being successful from a sales perspective.
Yeah, because I haven't even played Code Veronica. You know, shocking for the audience, I know. But, you know, in reality, I don't...
We had it on Dreamcast. How did you miss that? We had it on Dreamcast.
Maybe I played it when I was young. I don't think so.
Probably did. Yeah,
I mean, of course I did, right? Come on, like, guys. I mean, yeah, I play all the games, you know what I'm saying? But I think maybe a lot of people would have maybe played more Res 4. I don't know, maybe because, you know, I do have a lot more fond memories of Res 4. But it will be interesting to see. I definitely think if Res 4 comes out, remake, and it does amazingly, of course they're going to explore more options of remakes. Like, why wouldn't they? And maybe Code Veronica would be the next one. Who knows? Or maybe they'll start, like, remaking Res 5. It's like, that only came out recently, man. Like, you can't do that. Remake Res 7.
That's right. We're doing a Monster Hunter World remake, guys. Look, that's news for today. Resident Evil 4, it's not coming out till 2022 at the earliest, but it is good news, and we're still holding out for Resident Evil Code Veronica remake. Probably not going to happen, but, you know,
we'll see.
That's the news, guys.
All right, fam.
Thanks for watching.
Laymen out.